Vishwavidyalaya. She is also a member in the board of directors in Rock Pebbles, which is a research journal of English literature from Narayanpur, Orissa, and a member in the board of director as reviewer in the Literary Perspectives, which is a journal of language and literature from Lucknow, UP. Previously, she has worked as a lecturer in English in Government Polytechnic College, Khorai, which is in Sagar. She was awarded a P.D. Tiwari Gold Medal in graduation and has a rich 12 years teaching and research experience with 2 reference books and 2 books of poems, also 20 research papers and 7 poems published under her name. She has successfully organized numerous training programs and workshops at national and university level. She has delivered plenary lectures at national and international conferences. 2 students till now have completed their PhD degree under her supervision, and indeed, there will be many more to seek guidance from such an exemplary teacher. Moving forward, we will now proceed to attend her lecture on Maxims of Effective Teaching. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Chetna. Yes. So, a very good morning to all of you. Why I chose to talk on this topic, because I felt that, in a workshop on capacity building for teaching effectiveness, it is very important. I'll take a minute, take a second, I'll just come back. Sorry for the interruption. So, why I chose to take up this topic for discussion, because I felt that in a workshop on capacity building for teaching effectiveness, we need to reflect upon the maxims of effective teaching also to give it a comprehensive look. Now, yes, let me first present my screen, and then we shall continue. Wait a second. ये ठीक से दिख रहा है? हाँ, स्लाइड शो का ऑप्शन नहीं दिख रहा मुझे. कर तो रहा है, लेकिन ये ऐसा अच्छा ठीक आ गया ना?
Madam, it is visible now. It is proper.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, yes, why there was a need to talk about maxims of impressive or effective teaching? Because there are certain things which we need to discuss, which we need to talk about. Now, what I'm going to talk about in this presentation, there is nothing which we all of us don't know in advance. But why we need to talk about this again? Because once we leave this training program, the very situation that we are here, the very reason that you have chosen to attend this faculty development program on the title Capacity Building for Teaching Effectiveness somewhere highlights the fact that we are all the teachers who are striving hard every day to become really effective teachers. And therefore, I am actually sitting, amid the group of teachers who really teach to inspire. And this was the reason why, from the day one, we were trying hard to play the role of facilitators, where we facilitate learning listening, we facilitate reflection. So, at the very outset, what I wish to clarify is that the only motive of this presentation is to revive that energy, that power, that zeal, that enthusiasm which we've had when we joined our teaching, career. And then when we go back, it will give us, a new energy, a new, zeal with which to strive further and further to become effective teachers. Now, what are the basic objectives which I look forward to taking up for this, in this session? So we would be together identifying different components of effective teaching. Then we would be reflecting upon the importance of using diverse teaching methodologies and audiovisual aids in teaching. Then we would be distinguishing between the positive and negative traits. Then we would be reflecting on importance of body language and using body language as an effective tool in teaching. We'll be reflecting upon principles of classroom management and also foundations of effective teaching. Now, as I have already stated that in this whole course, we were all participants in the teaching training process, and especially for this session, consider you all to be participants. So we are together doing this. In this process of this presentation, we are all one, right? Now, as Siddharth sir also said that, the moment we meet these students on day one, then to break the ice, to develop a kind of familiarity between the students, what we do is we take up certain activities to break the ice. And one activity which is very common, which all of us take up, is we take up introductions of the students. And as I had shared with you all my experiences, that often I have experimented with this idea of introductions also, where I actually put students into some activity, make them go and talk on the ground in small groups, and then I tell them to introduce their friends, 4 or 5 people, instead of introducing them, which actually on day one itself, develops a kind of highly communicative and, positive atmosphere in my classroom, which facilitates, teaching learning, because the group becomes a very, self-motivated group, and, the communication is really nice, effective between them. Now, in this session also, to break the ice, I propose to take up a small activity. There are many icebreakers which we take up when we on day one join the students. For example, sometimes we'll be, sharing with them, our introduction, or we'll be making them do some activities. Some of the activities which we take up are directed against training them from day one to start, thinking out of box. Siddharth sir in his presentation also was talking about the importance of out of box thinking. And then sometimes the activities are designed that the students are in a position to appreciate the importance of diversity, appreciate the importance of teamwork, communication, decision making, and all. So there is an activity which I wish to take up with you all now. So are you all there in for the activity? The activity which I want you all to do is just fetch paper and pen, and we have been attending. We are more than 150 participants in this training program. So of 150 participants, 1, 2, 3, or 4 must have impressed you, or you must have got to notice them. So what you have to do, you take out a piece of paper and you rate personalities of those friends in terms of horse, turtle, and sunflower on a scale of 10 points. Are you there with me, all of you? Say yes, write yes in the chat box. Yes. So what you have to do, you have to take a piece of paper, and on the paper, you have to write the names of those participants whom you now know, whom you now, can remember, you know their names. So write down the names of 3 participants, say, for example, whom you can, remember that, yes, they were there with me in this training program. What you have to do, you have to rate their personalities in terms of horse, turtle, and sunflower. Now, yes, if you say that we haven't seen them, we haven't interacted with them, then how to interact with, how to rate them? So this activity is one activity which I do on day one with my students. So day one, class first class, when all the students are there, I tell them that, rate the person sitting next to you in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower. So this activity is taken up with only, the group in which people are strangers to each other. And the emphasis is to tell that, even when we don't know people, we do create impressions, right? So rate them in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower on a scale of 10 points. So how are we to do it? Suppose you feel by their, responses, by their observations, by their comments, that their personality is more like that of a horse, then give 5. If you feel that their personality is more like that of less like that of a turtle, give 3. If you feel it is even less like sunflower, then give 2. So overall score is to be 10 only. And you have to rate everyone in these terms. Like, the ratio may vary. So sometimes you may feel that it is 4, 3, then 4 plus 3, 7, right? 4, 3, 3. So it may, vary. So sometimes you'll feel that someone is not at all like a turtle, then you can give, or more like horse, then give 7, 0, and then 3. So the total score has to be 10. In every case. So write down names of 3 participants whom you know, and then rate their personality in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower. Or you can rate, me also, because I've been there with you all the time. So what do you feel, Vanna madam's personality, how it is like? So it is more like horse, less like turtle, less like sunflower, or what? So quickly do it. So the score in each case of each individual has to be 10 only. So are you done with it? Yes. So, am I clear? Am I audible? Okay. So, you have to rate personalities of the participants or the speakers in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower. Horse, tortoise, sunflower, right? Tortoise, turtle, right? More or less same. So, you have to rate them in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower. Total score always has to be 10. So, you cannot give anyone total. Suppose that 5 in horse, 5 in turtle, and then 5 is 15. So 15 cannot be the case. It has to be, in every case, it has to be 10 only. So are you done with it? Rated? Right? Yes, in the chat box when you're done, quickly. We have to go fast in this session because I don't have to take your time. Yes, done. Yes, you can actually assess my personality in these terms also, right? Now, did it? Fine. So, now I'm coming to my next question. So, when you were rating in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower, then you must have thought what actually a horse stands for, what actually a turtle stands for, or what actually a sunflower stands for, right? So now what we'll be doing, you have to write on the chat box. There is a projector above and it is visible to me. So on the projector, I'll be in a position to see your responses. So you have to write what horse stands for in the chat box. So horse, what are the qualities which you think are there, in a horse? So horse, what is horse like? Horses? Yes. Energetic, powerful, enthusiastic. Yes. I cannot read it. Wait, I'll. Yes. So horse is enthusiastic, energetic. Turtle is slow, has strength. Only horse. We'll go one by one, please. We'll go one by one. So right now we are doing horse. So yes, has power, is loyal, speed, energy. Turtle is slow. Turtle will take later on, please. So is slow. Okay. So horse stands for energy, power, strength, zeal. Yes. Now turtle. Now let us take turtle. So what are the qualities of a turtle? Turtle is, we know the story. So it is very slow. Yes, slow, relaxed, slow. Then, yes, turtle, slow.
Patience.
He has patience. Very good. Yes, introvert, steady. Okay. Then, okay. So given anything else about turtle you have to write apart from slow and, lazy or patient. Anything else? Any quality else? Never gives up. Very good. Consistent. Fine. Great. Okay. So now let us take up flower, sunflower. Yes, calm, breathes well, consistent, patient, slow, steady. Good, good, good. Okay, so now sunflower. What are the qualities of a sunflower? Bright, yes. Focused, loyal, calm, focused, shining. Okay, yes. So beautiful, very true. Bright, yes, yes. Bloomy, inspired, composite, consistent. Very true, very true. Beautiful, yes. Reflective. So, yes, yes, yes. So, very true. Uh, So let us come back to this horse, turtle, flower, right? So we have rated the personalities in terms of horse, turtle, sunflower. When we were rating, look how we thought about horse. So we thought that horse is, really powerful, energetic. But then did we reflect that horse also stands for uncontrolled energy? It actually requires direction, no? We need to control, like we need to give the horse direction. So this uncontrolled energy also is not going to help in the longer run. So horse also needs some external force to be controlled on that part, right? Now turtle, if we talk about turtle, then there are, of course, turtle is slow, but there are so many things which actually make turtle really very powerful. For example, longevity of life, then the attitude to never give up. So turtle is very endurance is one quality of turtle. There are so many qualities you can think, no? So a turtle is very strong, it is not weak, right? Likewise, sunflower also, we can think of it is bright, blooming, but then it is very delicate, very fragile, right? So the point is that, like horse, turtle, and sunflower, every individual you're going to meet in life, all of your students, your relatives, your family members, all of them would be a combination of some good qualities and some challenging areas, right? But then what is it that is required to be successful? Then if we have to be successful, then in life we have to exercise a balance between horse, turtle, and sunflower. So from her horse we'll be needing power, energy, strength. Then from turtle we'll be needing longevity, again endurance, then never they say die spirit, steadiness. Then sunflower, we will be needing brightness, beauty, because it always inspires. Beauty, then bloominess, brightness, it always inspires. And in life it is a perfect combination of all these three things, horse, turtle, and sunflower, which makes an individual a success. So we have to be impressive, we have to be powerful, we have to be knowledgeable, energetic, but we have to have endurance also, adaptability also. Look, turtle has adaptability, can survive in water also, and can survive on land also. So a balance of all these three is what makes not only a great teacher, but a great individual also, great being also. So from now on, when once I took this activity with students, and one of my students came up with an observation. He said that, "Madam, I don't like your example. I don't like this parallel, right?" So and then when he said this, we were actually taking up the story of horse and tortoise. Some student has brought the story in the class, and we took it for fun. All of you must be aware of the modern version of that story, where horse and turtle basically, so they don't stop at that just first race in which turtle wins and horse loses, but they again take up the race. Are you aware of the story? Have you heard the modern version of the story of horse and tortoise? Yes. So, others, are you aware of the story? Okay. So, we'll take the story very quickly. So, what happens is that when horse is defeated, that day horse is, rabbit. Let me correct myself. When rabbit is defeated, that night he's not in a position to sleep. He's very sad, And then what happens? He thinks whole night that it is not possible for a tortoise to defeat me. So they are friends. They used to meet every day, right? So he goes to the tortoise in the morning and he tells him, "Look, we should go for a race again." And this time tortoise has gained a lot of confidence because he could win last time. So he says, yes, why not? So they take up the race, and obvious, because rabbit doesn't sleep this time, so rabbit is successful in winning the race, right? Then what happens? when we were taking up this story, one of the student came up with the observation, "Madam, I don't like your story." And the moment I saw his face, very natural, very obvious response which came to me, but I like your doubt. And then, we took this story further. We had a detailed discussion where, we took the third part of the story also, where basically horse and turtle, they again take up a race, and this time turtle challenges. So, sorry, because horse is there, so I'm reading continuously horse. So, rabbit and turtle, first race, rabbit wins. Second race, first race, turtle wins, and second race, rabbit wins. So third race is again taken up, and this time they decide that the course is to be changed. Tortoise decides that I'll be telling you where to run, and he takes rabbit. He draws a plan where they have to cross a river, and of course rabbit cannot cross the river, so that race is won by tortoise. Then they both realize that both of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. No one is superior and no one is inferior, and they become good friends. So they start travel. And when they become good friends, and when they develop real mutual respect for each other, then what happens? When they're traveling land, rabbit will carry turtle on him, and then when they're traveling through the waters, turtle will carry the rabbit. And by this, mutual teamwork, they could explore those areas of the forest which they were inaccessible to them in future. So I take this icebreaker in my class one, day one. Majority. I take many icebreakers, but this is one of them which I really like taking. And why I really like taking? Because it helps the students on day one to become a team, because they start understanding that no one is superior, no one is inferior, that we are actually a perfect combination of weaknesses and strengths, and together we can explore more. So this story basically makes them understand that as a team, we can definitely gain more than we can actually get as individuals. Yes. So then they not only, when you say it simply, it doesn't click. But when you tell them in the form of story, when you actually make them see it happening, then the students never forget this lesson. And this I do on day one, because we have students who are, some of the students are slow learners, some of the students are very good learners, some of them have very good communication skills. We are talking about English because I do English literature, and some of them are not having good communicative skills. So some of them are very weak in English, and some of them are very good. And what I want is that my class should grow as a whole. So throughout the sessions, I team my class into mixed groups where some performers and some low performers would be there, and they would be helping each other. And this story creates a kind of connection, a bond between all the students, and therefore it works. Now, yes. So we'll be taking our journey through this presentation from known to unknown. Whenever any discussion about effective teaching is there, whenever we any discussion about what a teacher means is there, we all are aware. So all the qualities of a good teacher, all the ideas related to effective teaching, they're already there with us. So we'll be quickly taking through them. And then we'll be trying to explore some new aspects, some new challenges which have come up to us now in light of this new education policy, in light of the learning outcome-based curriculum framework of UGC. And then, we'll be discussing how we are going to, actually meet the challenges which are coming up now. So this we all are aware that, the role of a teacher is very important. A teacher affects eternity. He or she can never tell where his or her influence stops. So when a student comes and tells you that, he could become something because of you, the happiness which a teacher gets listening to it cannot be compared to heaven also. And we as teachers are changing lives of many people. Sorry. So that day also, while I was talking to you all, I shared with you my idea that, when you help a student, especially a low performer or a underprivileged student, then you're not helping an individual, but you're helping his society, his relations, his friends, and thereby you are helping whole society grow. So our role is, much. So a mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, a superior teacher demonstrates, and a great teacher inspires. Something which all of us have heard, all of us have read, and all of us know. So while I am doing this, I want you all to write qualities of a good teacher in the chat box. So what are the qualities, a teacher? Yes. Before we do that, one thing which I want to remember, during your entire career as teachers, is that as teachers, what we have to do, we have to refrain from complaining, and we have to learn how to compliment. So even when your urge to complain is really very strong, you must remember that as teachers, if we start complaining about anything, about the performance of the students, about the disinterestedness of the students, about the difficult system, so if we'll start complaining, Siddharth sir also was saying that you should not discuss this with your students because it will demotivate them. And this is what even I want to emphasize, that as teachers, our role is very, very, important, and we have to be very serious. We should never complain, never ever complain about anything, because if we'll complain, then, if our students who take as an authority, they would also start thinking in that line only. So whenever there is an urge to complain in you, you change it with compliment. So you never complain, never for any reason, right? So, and why should we never complain? Because I'll go back. Because those who complain the most are usually the ones who work the least. One good word is often more powerful than 100 bad words. So any of these things can apply to us, but then often it is not possible. Sometimes why I have taken this presentation today, because it's been 10, 15 years we've been teaching, and in the course of our regular routine, we tend to forget. So we tend to forget all those things which, we knew that are to be, exercised as teachers. So one thing which you should remember today is that, whenever you feel like complaining in class, you change it, immediately. You if at all you have to do anything, use it in such a way that, it actually complements learning. You should not complain. Yes. So now, what, according to you, a good teacher is? All of us know what a good teacher is. So quickly write down qualities of a good teacher in the chat box so that, we can take up the discussion further. Yes. So good teacher is one who is, yes, encouraging. Yes. Yes. Patient. Yes. Yes. Energetic. Inspires. Yes. Yes. Okay. Motivator, enthusiastic, assertive, very true, sensitive, very true. Yes. So we would be arriving at, yes. Polite, very true. Knowledgeable, yes. Kind, yes. Motivates, yes. Compassionate, very true. Okay, yes. So, yes, we all know that these are all the qualities of a good teacher. Now, my question to you all is that reflect upon your teaching journey. In the recent past, could you exercise all these influences on your students? Could you maintain all these qualities? Why these training programs are really important, why refresher courses are very important, because in routines, what happens, we tend to forget things. We become accustomed to the routine, and therefore we lose that enthusiasm, that passion, that energy which is required on our front. So there is a need to reflect back, and this is the reason why such training programs are organized. So yes, there are top 8 traits. All you have written, whatever you have written is correct. There are they can be classified, in major 8 traits of a good teacher. So first and foremost trait of a good teacher is that he or she is ever willing to learn from everywhere, and classroom is our platform to learn. Teacher learns the most from the classroom. You'll agree with me, right? So teacher is ever willing to learn, then wants to be a good teacher, and we all are good teachers, and therefore we are here, right? We have taken up this faculty development program. Then uses humor. Smile is very important. When I tell my students how to develop confidence, then first thing which I tell them is that you have to smile. And for teacher, if he has to bring smile on the faces of the students, then the teacher has to use humor in the class. Then what will happen? The fear will melt away, and gradually they'll be more participative in your classes, right? So for that, you have to use humor in the class, right? Then teacher should be knowledgeable. There is no compensation for knowledge. A journey of a teacher cannot take right shape if teacher is not knowledgeable. And there was a concern which came in this training program initially also, that while we are employing the best brains should become teachers. One of the participants said, and I really agree with this, the best brains of the country should actually become teachers, because that way nation building is possible. Then teacher is a good communicator, then has positive attitude, is flexible. Being flexible is very important, because if you become rigid, then what will happen? Learning on the part of students will become really, difficult. Then uses diverse methods. Siddharth sir was also saying this, because types of learners are different. Some learn, visually, some, you by using audio, some are kinesthetic learners. So you have to use diverse method if you really want, your students to learn. Then a teacher, top trait of a good teacher is that he or she has desire to make the world better. And that desire makes them strive hard ever and ever. Right? So we have taken up a discussion of, all of you have written. So what are the good qualities of a teacher? Now, let us discuss what are the habits of a good teacher. So quickly in the chat box, start writing what you think are the habits of a good teacher. A good teacher is disciplined, is always on time, right? And I'll be honest, this is one area I'm still struggling. So every day I go back telling me tomorrow I'll be on time. But next day, I struggle. But still, because that desire is there in me. So one day I'm sure that I'm going to overcome it. Yes. Action-oriented. Yes. Confident. Very true. Energetic. Yes. Updated. Yes. Logical. Uses humor. Yes. Encouraging. Yes. Okay. So, yes, you all are right. There are so many things. A good teacher is structured. He takes risks, by experimenting with methods, different things. You take risk in the class. A teacher is a kind of parent, is confident. And he not only teacher is confident, but he promotes confidence. He or she is in a position to give confidence to the students also. And a good teacher has to have positive attitude. This area is one thing which I would want to highlight, because challenges of life are such that sometimes, we lose this. Positive attitude is something, it is very difficult to retain, because life is not a bed of roses for anyone. It will be a combination of good and bad. It will be a combination of, good times, bad times, difficult times, and then happy times. So positive attitude, if you are in a position to maintain through your journey as a teacher, as an individual, then everything else will actually fall in shape. So good teacher plans, has art of teaching, is fond of children. A good teacher loves his students. And this love is what motivates, keep him or her motivated throughout, right? So it's balanced, recapitulates, it's fair-minded, takes feedback. Feedback is very important, because good teacher is always interested in knowing whether the students are in a position to understand, are in a position to follow, are in a position to retain what he is or she is delivering or not. Then listens. As teachers, this is one thing which we stop doing as we mature, as we start getting gray hairs. So we feel that we have now authority to speak, so we start giving our divya gyans to the students, right? So we stop listening. But this is one thing, which definitely is, to be discouraged, because unless and until you will listen to the students, you would not be in a position to understand them. And if you will not be in a position to understand their needs, you would not be in a position to address them. And therefore, what will happen in the longer run? you would cease to be an effective teacher. So you should always remember. In my class, I tell, because mine is literature class. Look, class, every subject, demands a kind of different kind of approach. So in my class on day one, I tell my students, remember, dear ones, if I speak the most, the class has failed. And when you speak the most, class is successful. But because it is not about me, it is about you. Whenever we, start teaching, on day one, it is our duty to tell the students what they are going to gain from this subject. When I say what they are going to gain from this subject, I'm not only talking about domain knowledge, but I'm also talking about the skill sets, because every hobby, every special interest, every subject also imparts some subject specific skills to the technical skill sets to the students. So as teachers, our duty is to make our students, it is like, day one for them. They are clueless about it. But then if you tell them on day one, look, when you complete this degree, after that, you are actually expected to have these skills. Then what will happen through the course of their journey, they will those skills. For example, on day one, I tell my students that in a course of literature, it is essential that the students of literature, they develop good communication skills, good writing skills, and analytical skills, critical faculty, imaginative faculty. So a list is exhaustive. So on day one, I'll tell my students, look, students, this is a subject where you have to develop all this. And how will this develop? Any skill can be developed only through practice. Take example of driving, car driving. You give me hundreds of lessons online, I would not be in a position to drive a car. I have to drive it. Similarly, no matter how much knowledge we impart them, unless and until students themselves are putting in efforts, trying to, inculcate, the knowledge, imbibe the lessons and acquire the skills on their own, consistent, continuous effort on the part of students is required. Only then they can develop those skill sets. So on day one, instead of telling them only the course, that what is it that we are going to do in unit 1 or unit 2 or unit 3, 4, we also have to tell them that, look, this subject empowers you by giving you these skills. And therefore, and this is the way these skills can be developed. And therefore, through your journey, through this degree course, you have to do everything to, develop these skills. So, and then in literature, I tell my students that for you, the only way to learn is to practice. So if you speak, you'll develop your thinking, your imaginative faculty, if you'll participate. So I tell them, if in any class I speak more than 30%, that class has failed. And if in any class I speak less than 30%, then the class is successful, because you are speaking, you're practicing, and therefore you'll grow. So every text which we take it this way, that the students, we together interpret it. So we in literature don't believe in authoritative meaning. Now this won't be applying to everyone, although all knowledge can never be authoritative. So we know that, the laws also, they keep on changing. So something which was fixed, time which was fixed, some good fellow comes and changes it. And then we get to understand that time is not fixed. So who tells us this time is now not fixed? All those with whom I'm interacting are the students of science. So who is the one who tells us that time is not fixed, it is relative? Please, chat box. Who was the scientist who could demonstrate that time is not fixed, time is relative? Yes, anyone? Chat box. So, theory of relativity. Yes, am I audible? Yes. So, yes, right. So actually, my understanding of science is very limited. I was not a good student of science, and still day I regret it. But then, one of my teachers, he explained me theory of relativity with a beautiful example, easy example, which, makes me take this example always in the class. So he told me that, imagine that you're sitting with your, fiance in Shalimar Nishad garden. Right? Then how time will pass, even if food is not there, water is not there, morning till evening, you will not feel that, it is very long, right? But then, if we transport you, if you are at Jaisalmer, 50-degree temperature, 55-degree temperature, all alone without water, then even a single second will seem to be an eternity. So he said that, this is a good example to make you understand that, theory of relativity, that time is also relative. It is not fixed. So the 24 hours, as 24 hours, they are not fixed. And then later discoveries do tell us that, time also changes. So when you pass through a black hole, nearby a black hole, then the, time span, it is 1 hour of, space is not similar, when you're near black hole is not similar to 1 hour on Earth, right? So all the, what is important in this regard is that, as a teacher, we have to, be listening. So through such examples, I tell the students that knowledge is not authoritative, meaning is not authoritative, and therefore you should never be scared of thinking out of box. Now, again, there are many icebreakers to teach students how to do out of box thinking. So you have to tell the students that there is nothing which is final. All knowledge is acquired through experience, and we keep on revising it as we keep gaining new experiences. So as good teachers, we all have to practice all these things. Now, I would like to take up, what are the steps to effective teaching? As I have said earlier also, there is nothing which is completely new, which I can discuss with you all. But then it is very important at this stage where we have already taught for a few years to reflect back upon it, so that when you go back home, so, when you go back to your students after the training program today, tomorrow they find you a more energetic man. Tomorrow they find a new light in you, right? So, but before we take up steps to effective teaching, let us contextualize it, because we are dealing not with school children, we are dealing with higher education. So let us think about role of higher education, because only then we would be in a position to understand what is it that we are expected to do. So what is the role of higher education? Why do we, teach the students? First and foremost, we are there to help them build their careers. No other answer. Whatever we give, this is one reason which always will remain. Agree? We're building them, helping them build their careers. Do you agree that this is an objective of higher education? Yes. So first and foremost, we have to make them employable, right? We have to help them securing gainful employment, then providing further access to higher education comparable to the best available in the world-class institutions elsewhere. What I am writing here on this slide is basically what is the idea of UGC's leading outcome-based curriculum framework. So all of you must have received LOCF, by now, and these lines are taken from the LOCF curriculum of UGC, because if we have to make some difference, we have to understand what the policy builders actually are expecting of us. So according to them, role of higher education is, it should be helping in providing further access to higher education comparable to the best available in the world-class institutions elsewhere. And then how are we going to manage this? Improvement in the quality of higher education, highest priority to enable the young generation of students to acquire skill, training, and knowledge in order to enhance their thinking, comprehension, and application abilities, and prepare them to compete, succeed, and excel globally. Now, role of higher education is also to prepare the students for research, right? One thing which cannot be denied, because research is something very important for entrepreneurship also. So, but then how are we going to do all that? So to do all that, we have to help students acquire skills. Through training, acquire knowledge, and then we have to enhance their thinking, enhance their comprehension and application abilities, and we have to prepare them to compete, succeed, and excel globally. Now, if we go slow, right? If we go slow and if we start thinking about these lines, then immediately one thing which surfaces is that, look, center of this education is student. They are the center, not we are the center. Majority of the time we are preoccupied with impressing the students. How I should impress my students that I'm very knowledgeable. But then you are not the center. Center is the student. So instead of putting in more effort in showcasing our knowledge, we should put in more effort in understanding our students. And if we'll understand them, only then we'll be in a position to train them, and achieve all these ends. Now, so first and foremost, because learning to learn is what actually learning to learn, to go for self-discovery, self-learning. This is what LOCF or the new education policy is emphasizing. So what the policy builders think about learning? They say that learning is a challenging, engaging, and enjoyable activity. We agree. Learners should be encouraged to engage in a rigorous process of learning and self-discovery by adopting a highly focused and yet flexible approach to education as proposed to rote learning. Each day, learners should be encouraged to focus on key areas of the course and spend time on learning the course fundamentals and their application in life and society. In teaching and learning pedagogy, there should be a shift from domain and conclusions-based approach to the experiences or process-based approach to learning. Now, how do we define the process of learning? I won't go, in details by this, because we have already discussed that, in process of learning basically involves the students, basically what we have to do is we have to make them see things happening. So instead of giving examples from theory, from books, am I not audible? Okay, yes. So instead of focusing more on bookish delivery, we have to find out linkages between the what is being taught and real life situations. So what we are going to tell them, what they are going to learn is going to help them develop an understanding of life in general, phenomena of nature in particular, how it will help them grow in future. All these things we have to tell them. Sometimes I tell students, ask, we were to take up arts, then why is it that we were taught science till 10th? We were not actually skilled in it. So I often tell them, do you know how wind blows? What is air? What is the difference between climate? So you know all this because you've been taught it so. Otherwise, what will happen? The way you are capable of understanding and explaining it to others, the way you are capable of understanding the whole thing, it would not have been possible if you would not have been taught this way. So, we have to provide them some understanding of how what they are going to learn now is going to help them in future. Now, how are we going to do that? How to promote learning and self-discovery? Entire discussion of we took up right from this role of higher education. It is telling us one thing and again, and that one thing is that students have to learn how to self-learn, and how they have to discover themselves in the process of learning, because they are power stores of possibilities, immense possibilities. So all we have to do is we have to help them discover their inner strength. So how are we going to do this? LOCF of BA Honors, which we got, says that the faculty should promote learning on a proportionate scale of 20:30:50. So where you have to keep lectures to be 20% of the delivery, visuals 30%, and experience 50%. This immediately tells you that the lecture method will not serve the purpose. You have to use diverse methods, and you all the students into it. We academicians, intellectuals keep on complaining is that there is a gap between policy and its implementation. But in this case, who are the implementers? The intention of the planners in planning new education policy is very noble, very pure, very pious. Before this, policy came, we got a chance to deliberate on the draft regulations of new education policy. And the moment one of the policy makers was there with us, and he explained the policy, its intentions to us. And the moment the presentation ended, everyone was like, look, this is going to be very difficult. We cannot do this. We are not prepared for this. Language policy will not work. And day 2 was where we had to take up individual discussions on every aspect of new education policy. And before we were to begin, I requested one thing to all the participants of the workshop. Look, I said that, look, we should not oppose it just because it is difficult. This actually seems to be first solid attempt at doing something, changing, revising new education policy to fulfill our purposes. It is first attempt at decolonizing the Indian minds, and therefore we should not oppose it just because it is difficult. Rather, we should try to think how the purpose which is there behind it, motive which is there behind it, can be fulfilled. Maybe the way which they are showing is, it may be improvised, but the basic intention is very pure, very noble, and very, correct. And therefore, whenever you take up this, because our role will be very important when this new education policy is actually implemented. So instead of being skeptical, friends, we have to understand what is the ultimate outcome which they are expecting from us, and we have to work to achieve that outcome instead of focusing on the loopholes of the policy. Only then some change in our country is possible. The moment any policy decision is made, syllabus is revised, and we start thinking of high objectives, we start questioning. We start questioning that the kind of students we get in higher education, they don't know anything. They are not they don't have any communication skills, knowledge, capability, potential. Sometimes we do complain that students are not as good. We could have made much difference if the students would have been better at IIT, and all people really are good. But then, this is time that we should think. I have written it here. Why do we think we deserve smart, self-motivated, hardworking students who do not really need to be taught? This probably makes you see, the thing. Who need us? The students need us. Why they need us? Because they lack in something. If they would not have lacked in any of these areas, then they would not have needed us. People at IIT, they would do well without the teachers also, because they're self-motivated, they're smart, they're hardworking. And I always tell my students, and I always discuss with my faculty, that our students are the students who need us the most. And our students are the students, if we can make some difference to their lives, then we're making a huge difference to the country. Because without our help, they would not be in a position to do it. So friends, when you now meet challenging students, remember, if you help them, you are helping country in such a way no one else is helping. And your contribution is unique. It is valuable, more valuable than the contribution of anyone else in the country. So never be discouraged if you find your students to be wanting in anything. And for that, we have to be enthusiastic. We have to be self-motivated. We have to be sincere in our efforts. We have to be courteous, objective, and willing to work. If we have all these qualities, I'm telling you, I can bet that day one, you might feel that they're not all you expected them to be. But final day of the graduation or post-graduation, they'll be everything you wanted them to be. At least majority of them would be. And, if we can make a difference in the lives of even 5 students every semester, every year, our role is done, our bread is earned. Otherwise, we don't deserve to be teachers. But how are we going to do that? This I'm going to skip fast, because we have discussed, we had a lot many discussions. So, we have to go cast good first impression. Then we have to plan effectively. And then we have to, plan depending on the needs of the students, right? So, because the number of students, the strength of the class, which actually I'm talking about, then their caliber, their potential, the extent of content which you need to cover, it will require it will require us to plan in different ways. So planning and implementation part, we are very well aware how we have to do it. But then when we are doing it, we should not forget that just delivery of the content will not serve the purpose. We have to use humor. We have to use short stories, some startling statistic. We have to make them think. We have to invite their participation. And why we have to do all this? Because it is not about us, dear friends. It is about them. We have already made our lives. We are already making our lives. We will already thrive because we are self-motivated, inspired. So it is not about us. It is about them. They need us. And therefore, for them, we have to do all this, and we should not forget. So in every class, we should try to do something, to address all this. And yes, when you are experimenting, never forget to seek feedback. feedback is very important. Feedback can be taken variously. And, the best feedback is what comes from the body language of the students. When I teach barriers to communication, when I discuss communication to barriers with my students, I tell them, like, you can do one activity. In one class, all of you decide that you will not nod, you will not give any feedback through body language, you'll sit still. And then I ask them, what do you think, how long the teacher will be in a position to continue? Not even for 2 minutes, right? Immediately the teacher will be asking, what happened, why you people are not following? So we have to be watchful of the body language of the students all the time to understand their needs and address them and clarify our points accordingly. Why? Because body says what words cannot. Students would be hesitant. They would not tell us that you're boring us, sir, we don't want to listen to you, we're not feeling like studying. But when they're not ready, it will not help also. So if students are not ready and still you force them to learn your way, it will not create the impact. So somehow you have to make them ready to acquire all that you are going to deliver, right? So you have to observe body language and do something about it, right? Body language, in the very beginning, body language of the teachers and body language of the students, it would tell whether the whole endeavor would be successful or not. Why? Because, this is an example. When they meet, we all know that, this meeting between Parvez Musharraf ji and Atal ji could not materialize. So you can see the handshake. Vajpayee ji is like, a bit hesitant because Musharraf ji is shaking hand, but look at him, very stern, very cold. There is no warmth or affectionate feeling in his interaction. So it did not materialize. And but then if we remember the Wagha meeting with Nawaz Sharif, they met very, with full warmth, and therefore it could materialize. So if the body language of the teacher and the students, it can share that warmth. If you meet in online classes also, we have to ensure this, that they're ready and that they're feeling that same, inclination towards the class, like we, check in the classrooms. Only then, some positive outcome will be possible. And yes, we as teachers often, the moment students starts opening and when they start complaining, because if you'll invite participation, they'll become free. When they'll become free, they'll, be free to tell you about their likes, dislikes, preferences also. Then, at times what will happen, you'll feel like indulging in military talk. But when we don't appreciate it, we should not use it because it is not going to create any impact. So when we are, and then this I would speak, we all know that, we have to be watchful about our body language, our content, our presentation, points. As teachers, we all have been doing this. So I'm going very quickly. I'll be sharing the presentation with you so you can focus on it. One thing which I tell my students on day one is this. I'll share it with you all. I read this to them, that most of us listened at or below a 25% efficiency rate. Remember, only half of what's said during a 10-minute conversation, and forget half of that within 48 hours. Now, friends, telling students everything is very important, because when I tell this to them, I tell them that, look, unless and until you'll take notes, you would not be in a position to remember. Right? Why? Because recapitulation would not be possible. So when we are listening below 25% efficiency rate, best students also are not in a position to listen more than 75%. But then, most of us, we are negligent, right? So I cannot. I'll come back to your observation, Anil sir. Sir, it is not clearly visible. I'll go through the chat box. Let me finish. So most of the students, they listen at or below 25% efficiency rate. I'm not talking about the students who are mindfully listening. I am talking about the students who are not mindful of this listening activity. So the makeup of the mind is such that we become distracted time and again. So when I am talking to you, it is not possible for you to remain focused 100% throughout the session. There would be times when you would be thinking about something else also. So we have to tell students that you have to start working on it day one. You have to start listening 100%. You have to take notes so that you are in a position to benefit the most from it. Yes. So not that we don't know this, But because we need to keep them in mind, I'm repeating them again. In our classroom teaching, we should never deviate, too much from the topic. Sometimes small deviations are possible when you are telling stories and all, but then we have to come back again. We should not tell the students what is not required to be told, which means we should not tell them what this would discourage them, what would disappoint them, what would affect them in any way. We should tell them everything which will inspire them, motivate them, to make them strive further. Then don't take mobiles to the class. This I am writing, so I'll be doing this from now on. Then don't scold the students, and then imitate bad examples. We should not imitate bad examples of our teachers, because whatever we do, somewhere we have learned our behaviors from our teachers. So we have to remember that what we couldn't appreciate, we don't have to exercise. Then we have to, and if we are taking mobiles, because these days you cannot escape calls from the authorities and all, keep them on silent, right? At least we should keep them muted, right? We should not allow the mobiles to ring. So I'll be following this from now on. Sometimes, we do take mobiles. I'll try not to take mobile in the class now. Then we have to follow good etiquettes, be proactive, seek responses, encourage and love, and then give and receive proper feedback. Classroom management depends on this principle, rest. If we'll be in hurry, then we will not be in a position to make any difference. And it is not about us, it is about them. And therefore, to make some difference, we have to rest, which means we have to be at peace when we are planning. We have to take our time. You cannot run, through the lectures, through the concepts. You have to take time and see whether what you're teaching, what you're telling is actually, taken up the way you want or not. So how would I abbreviate, this? Rest here would be recognize the needs of the students, eliminate the difficulties, spend some time with the students to understand them, right? So give them time so that they grow. So whenever you go to the class, remember this, that you have to rest, right? You don't have to be in hurry. We have to appreciate this we all know, that we have discussed already, that we need to appreciate individual, differences. Now, these are certain things which we have to be watchful about. Although we remain watchful majority of the times, but still, I'm writing it to reinforce that we should not read from the books in class because it makes the session boring. We should refrain from being partial, which I know that majority of us would not practice, but we have to be watchful, because sometimes we ourselves are not aware of what we are actually doing. So we have the constant reflection on the part of teacher is really very important. You don't have to occupy the board. You don't have to talk about the family of the students. Sort of bad communication. You should give your ears to the students. Not listening to their issues definitely will create problems, because then if they are preoccupied with something, they will not be in a position to learn. You should not be actually nagging about past. Then no discouraging remarks should be used in the class. Then we should not make petty things bigger. It often happens, at times students, unintentionally or intentionally, because they're so immature, they're so fresh, so energetic. So they do some things which, you really find annoying. So, but then, at that very moment, you have to counsel them. You have to take action according to the need of the situation. But once that situation is past, we should not make it seem more bigger, right? So ignore. If your students for any reason err, like our own kids, we should forgive them. Why? Because it is about them, and we know that we are there to shape them, to make them, and therefore we should not make petty things bigger. We should not make fun which can hurt anyone. Scolding, teasing, taking up personal issues, talking about co-teachers. This is all which must be avoided in classroom teaching, which I know that majority of us avoid in the class. Now, I would be winding up, taking up some points. Some points I have from the discussions of all the sessions. There are certain points which I would want to recapitulate, so I'm bringing them to you. We must ourselves generate interest in the context of the topic being taught. As teachers, our complaint is that students are disinterested. So whatever efforts we put in, they don't reciprocate, they don't respond. But then it is our own duty to generate interest in the student. And the points which I am bringing up now for discussion, they will basically be helpful in generating interest. So we have to link the topic to other channels of knowledge from different streams of life. So we have to link, we have to give examples. When we are explaining them theories, concepts, then we have to give examples from real life situations, from different subjects, so that they can actually understand it. We have to use communicative language, we have to communicate effectively. Then we must maintain democratic environment in the class. When I say democratic environment, which it means that students should enjoy full freedom to question, full freedom to dissent, to disagree with you, right? And they should be having full freedom, So it's saying, it also tells that you don't have to exercise your authority on them in any way. Some teachers can flourish when we are very loving and caring towards them. So we have to maintain this. And loving them irrespective of their caste, creed, colors, shape, size, looks. It is really very important. As teachers, we know this, but we have to teach this to the students also. Then we have to maintain classrooms blissful discipline. A democratic environment does not mean that class should not be disciplined, or we can actually take expense on discipline. No, discipline is to be maintained, but the discipline should be blissful. Look, in our last session yesterday, how was the experience? Blissful. And that kind of experience is what we should be in a position to create in our classroom also. Blissful discipline, where students, it doesn't hurt them to remain silent, it doesn't hurt not to disturb, rather they're happy in it. So we have to do something to maintain blissful discipline in the class. Then we should try something new every day. Why this is very important? If you'll be doing something new every day, student will not be in a position to stay back home. Every day he'll be like, I should go today, I don't know what madam will do today. So it is very important, very, very important to try something new every day. So if you want attendance in your class, if attendance is not there, then you are responsible. If you start practicing, experimenting something new every day, students would find it very difficult to stay back home. They'll definitely be there with you. So we should try something new every day. Then we should refrain from showcasing our knowledge in front of students. Very important, because it will create distance. We should constantly engage students in discussions on the topics taught in the classroom. We must read students more instead of teaching them. I'm talking about teachers. We are already inspired. We are already knowledgeable, and we know our subject, our discipline. We are capable enough. And therefore, what is required is that we read the students more than we teach them, because when we will read them, we would be in a position to understand how we can teach them, how we can help them, and how we can help them grow. Then children have many ideas, things, stories, and therefore we should talk less and listen more in our classrooms. If we'll start listening more, then what will happen? Students will start developing, gaining more. Then we should keep our clothing, modality, lifestyle simple in classroom. Why? This will help the financially struggling students also in connecting with us. Then what will happen in your class? All your students, irrespective of their financial status or status in the society, would be in a position to connect with you. And if we wear very gaudy clothes, and if we actually are wearing expensive clothes, carrying expensive things, then what will happen? Students, automatically the students who are from weaker sections of the society, they would distance themselves from us. And then what will happen? We would not be in a position to help those students who need us absolutely. So a mother will always help that child who needs her help the most. So often you will find that we are parents, so our children complain, you prefer him to me, you are always taking his side or her side. But you remember, that mother or father, they will always, try to help that person the most who wants the help most. So that child who needs more attention, they'll be giving more. Let it be applied to our students also. So those students who are from villages, who are from weaker sections of the society, they need us more. And to connect with them, we have to put in special effort. And I can assure you that if you'll be in a position to help them, the satisfaction which you will be gaining in the process and the contribution which you'll be making to the society, it would be invaluable. Nothing would be comparable to it, right? Then teachers' effort should be to make the students feel him to be one with them. Instead of telling them our success stories, we should share with them stories of our failures, our struggles. Why? Success stories would not inspire them as much as if we share with them how much we struggled, how many times, we failed before we succeeded. So even if you don't have stories, it is not possible that all of us we have never failed in our lives. So it would do more good if you share how you struggled and how you failed before finally you could succeed, because that will make them connect with you. That will inspire them more than your own success stories. Look, I did this, I did that, I have this much of knowledge, experience. It is not going to help. I have studied these many hours. Nothing is going to help. Only when you share with them how you are trying hard to keep up with the pace, then they'll be in a position to feel, and then they'll be in a position to work towards it. So not pleasures, but our sorrows bring us together, and they provide us strength. And therefore, you should share stories of struggles with the students instead of the stories of mere success. Then classroom should be considered as the brightest part of the world. This is possible only when with the light and happiness of the students. I often share with my faculty members that when I enter the classroom, I forget all my pains, worries, difficulties, fights, arguments. Till I am in my class, I am on seventh heaven of happiness. And if that is what we are capable of achieving, then our sessions are going to be successful. Our effort as a teacher would be successful. I'll take 1 second. Please connect charger. Yes. Okay. Then classroom for teachers should be place of pleasurable learning and not a site of helplessness. So we learn every day. So in our classes, what happens? We are there to learn. So we should recognize this, that we are there to learn. And therefore, when we go to the classes, we should not feel helpless. Now the question comes, if at all we will feel helpless, when will we feel helpless? When we are not prepared. So friends, there should be it is better not to go than to go unprepared. So when I'm not prepared, I excuse myself from the class and I take it, at the next hour possible. Because we cannot skip the classes, we have to make up. But then instead of going unprepared, don't take the class, which means, and then I'm also telling that a teacher is disciplined. So teachers should not miss the classes, and therefore you should always be prepared. In fact, when you are taking up a course for teaching, finish your homework before you start, so that you have a holistic idea towards how you're going to do that course. So the class should not become a site of helplessness for us, but it should become a place of pleasurable learning. Then we should adopt multidisciplinary approach so that we succeed in taking the course to outside world real life situations and give them practical inputs on how theoretical knowledge can be used, by giving both examples from theory and practical. So the maxims of effective teaching then are always recapitulate, always, what does a being of great teacher reflect? Flexible, no prejudice. This we have already learned. So when I'm talking to you, you already have all this in mind, right? So with this, I'll end my presentation. Okay, yes. So this was all, friends, which my sole intention in taking up this activity was to give you some, something to go back with, some energy, some happiness, some courage, enthusiasm, right? So I hope I could actually feel you all, I could give you all that energy, back, which, in the process of, difficult process of teaching and learning, we miss, initially when we join, we have all this in us. But then what happens, gradually we start missing that, motivation. So I thought it will do us some good to take time and reflect on it. And I can share with you that this has done more good to me, than it would have done to you all, because I feel a new energy in me. And definitely I can assure you that tomorrow when I'll be taking class with my students, they'll be finding me a new person. Okay, so any points, questions are not possible in this session. So any valuable additions, if you are, if you would like to make, then you are welcome. Yes. Any points, any additions?
Ma'am, it was very useful actually. So no addition, no suggestions. It was really good, ma'am. Thank you so much. You were so spontaneous continuously, right?
Thank you so much, sir.
You spoke through experience, right? Your experiences and your ideas, your values. So it was really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I thought that every training program, it should provide us an opportunity to think, to go back from where we had started, so that, we don't stop from striving to become, effective teachers, good teachers, great teachers, right? Okay, so with this, we'll break for the session, and we are already late for the next session. So